This entire bag of food costs the same as one Starbucks latte. One latte. Let's talk about that. Back in May, we posted a video about shopping for food here in Shkodër. In it, we assigned some homework, and a few of you actually did it. So today, we're going to go over the results and assign new homework. But before we dive into the homework results, quick note. We've updated our Pack Up and Bounce course. It's nearly doubled in size with way more detail on how to plan, pack, and make the move work long term. So if this kind of life sounds appealing, check that out. Link in the description. In the previous video, we were reporting with the wide-eyed wonder of the newly arrived. Now that we've been here for 6 months, we're still amazed by the affordability of local produce and food in general, but we've also learned a lot worth knowing. An important detail to keep in mind is that it's not just as simple as saying stuff is cheaper in Albania. There are actual reasons for it. There are also items that aren't necessarily cheaper here. Wendy goes produce shopping at least once a week, usually more. And every single time, she offers an after-action report similar to this.
Here she is.
Okay, this is from my Italian grocer who always says, "Ah, signora." Beautiful head of green leafy lettuce. Big head of it. And let's see. Got 3 red bell peppers. Oops. Dropping my fruit on the ground. 2 apples. Alright. 2 giant tomatoes. That's really, really heavy. 2 eggplant.
To go with meatballs.
Bunch of green onions. And she threw this in for free. She always gives me a treat for free. $5.
The Albanian way. $5.
$5.
500 lek.
It was 530 lek.
Okay, so
And she just took the 5. She didn't even take the 30 lek. And then gave me a lemon. And then I went next door and I got these 3 gigantic cucumbers for $1.
wow.
So all this was $6. 600 lek.
The food you buy in local markets comes from nearby farms, meaning less distance to transport and few to no middlemen. When you're buying directly from local producers, you avoid all that markup. Because things are sold fresh in open markets, packaging and refrigeration costs are essentially non-existent. Many families here grow their own food, which reduces demand for store-bought produce. This helps keep prices competitive. Also, general cost of living and the cost for things like transport and market stall rent are lower. If you missed the previous video, the homework was based on this haul, which set us back $8.13 at the time. Thanks to the devaluing of the dollar, which has been in steady decline since January, the same 710 lek is now equivalent to $8.53. Pretty significant fall in just 5 months. Anyway, we asked viewers to head to their local market and buy the same items in organic produce, if possible. So let's see what kind of feedback we got. First out of the gate, as is so often the case, was my old friend Terry from back in Santa Cruz. She did the same list at 2 stores in different cities. The first came in at $26.51, and the second was $24.45. She also pointed out that even though everything she bought was in fact organic, the options weren't exactly ideal. No garlic by the head, only peeled in 1-pound plastic bags or minced in a glass jar. The lettuce was in a plastic clamshell, and the onions were only available pre-bagged. No pesticides allowed, but unrecyclable packaging, it's fine. This is super common in all the high-end markets back home. Shelf after shelf of overpriced food in packaging not accepted by most curbside recycling programs.
It seems like everybody's buying lettuce in a box now. Is this recyclable?
In this state, none of this is recyclable.
Okay, what about all of these? This is everywhere in every supermarket.
In Oregon, again, there are no curbside programs that would accept any of these tubs.
Yeah.
Anita checked in from Mexico to report that her experience with vendors is very similar to what we showed here in Shkodër, with prices there being a bit cheaper as long as you're not in the tourist-heavy areas. Charles did the homework in Fort Worth, Texas, and his results were similar to Terry's in California, about $25. From a little town between Cincinnati and Dayton, we heard from Denise. She found most of the items at her local market, but for a proper comparison on the tomato, she went with the one she gets from the local Amish farmers. Her total came in at $28.86. Yikes. A Stella dog dropped in from the suburbs of St. Louis, Missouri. She did her comparison at the local chain supermarket, choosing organic when possible and substituting conventional for the rest. I just love her specificity, so let's see what she ended up with. No organic green onion. Regular green onion is $1.29 for about 4 pieces in a bunch. No organic leeks. For one regular leek, yes, one stalk, it is $1.79. 2 organic broccoli, $5.49 each, so total for the 2 is $10.98. 1 organic red pepper, 1 organic tomato, 1 organic small onion, each at $2.29. 1 organic apple, $2.39. 3 organic garlic, $4.09, only comes in a 3-pack for organic. 1 organic head of lettuce, $4.59. Total at my store for your list is $30.21. Last but not least, Dawn stopped by from an undisclosed location to report that at her local Walmart, the organic cost for our list was $25.23. So, while it's not a gigantic data set, the resulting picture is about what we expected. One thing I am a bit surprised at, to be honest, is that the cheapest result on the list came from a store in San Jose, California. I'm sure that each participant had to endure some sort of commute to get these groceries. So add in gas and wear and tear on their vehicle, or their bus, train, or subway fare. And how much time do you suppose they had to invest? I bet some of them spent more time finding a place to park than we did on the whole errand. For us, it's barely a 5-minute walk, and 90 seconds of that is just getting downstairs from our apartment to find multiple vendors all set up on the same block. This is the spot where Wendy gets most of our produce. If we want to venture out further, we can find even more options. We burn some calories, get a little light cardio, and lose an infinitesimal amount of shoe sole during the endeavor. Having said that, Albania doesn't produce everything that people might look for at the supermarket, like coffee or bananas or sugar. Albanians take their cheese and dairy in general very seriously, and much of it is of excellent quality. However, if you want imported Italian burrata or Parmigiano Reggiano, you're going to pay a premium. As another example, Albanian meat is very high quality, but they don't produce it in the same quantities as some other countries. So imported meat is often cheaper than domestic. Occasionally, we come across expats complaining about food being expensive here. This is usually on the online forums. We haven't had someone actually say this to us face to face, so we haven't been able to ask what they really mean. But it's hard to imagine what they could possibly be comparing it to. Our bet is these folks are trying to maintain the eating habits from their home country. So they're buying a lot of imported, processed, and prepackaged goods. Everything that's processed, packaged, or designer is going to tend to have a high markup. And that's true everywhere, not just in Albania. To convey what I'm talking about, let's talk about something that most Americans understand on at least a basic level. That a bottle of French champagne costs a lot more than a domestic sparkling wine, even if the domestic product is just as good. Why do you suppose that is? Is it that French wine is just fancier? Are French grapes inherently better? No and no. It's taxes, shipping cost, currency exchange rates, middlemen, insurance, and regulatory compliance. A bottle of Moet will set you back like 35 to 40 euros in France. By the time it reaches a US store, it's been hit by a €3 import tariff, and the shipping cost is like €5. The importer tax on 30%, the distributor 25%, and then the retailer throws in an additional 30%. So when all is said and done, a single bottle hits 95 to 100 euros or 100 to 110 US dollars. Meanwhile, a comparable California sparkling wine might cost the producer $25 to make and will sell for $40 to $50 at retail simply because it's easier to get to the store. That extra $60 for the Moet has absolutely nothing to do with the quality of what's inside the bottle. I think this is why some people claim that food is more expensive here than where they're from. They're buying products from home and not understanding how importing works. It's easy to see how they might end up spending more than necessary. They're not just importing products, right? They're importing their habits. But that got us thinking. What about the foods that don't need to travel? Behind every imported label, you're paying for the distance, shipping, taxes, branding. But behind every local product, you're paying for craftsmanship. So this time, we're turning the grocery challenge up a notch. If you want to see how your town stacks up, make sure you hit subscribe. It's totally free. Just lets YouTube know that you want to tag along for the next round. So for the next homework, let's explore 3 foods where that craftsmanship really shines. Pizza, bread, and ice cream. Here in Shkodër, we can buy a loaf of fresh, locally baked bread for about $1. And there are bakeries at just about every block, too. Seriously. A hand-tossed, one-topping pizza made with homemade dough, real cheese, and fresh sauce runs us around $5. And a single scoop cone of creamy, high-quality gelato, 50 cents. So that's your next assignment. Find those same 3 things where you live. Not from a chain or a supermarket, but from your local bakery, pizzeria, or ice cream shop. The good stuff. Then, tell us what it costs. As you've just seen, last time, we had a handful of brave volunteers who actually showed up from California, Texas, Missouri, Ohio, Mexico, and a mystery location we're still curious about. So here's your chance to join in. Leave your results in the comments, where you are, what you paid, and a description of the products. Send us a photo via email for bonus points, if you'd like. We'll feature our favorite entries in a future video. It'll be like a virtual potluck. You bring the numbers, we'll compile them, and report back. And hey, if you've enjoyed this one and want to buy us a virtual beer, there's a link in the description. We'll raise a glass to you from here in Shkodër. We call it a beer, but it's really just a digital cheers that helps us keep the channel going. So maybe this next round of homework feels a little more indulgent. Bread, pizza, and ice cream. the holy trinity of cheap foods. But hey, it's all in the name of science, right? What we've learned so far is that value isn't just about price. Sometimes you've got to measure joy as part of the cost of living. And if that means a few extra calories for the sake of accurate data, we say take one for the team. Thanks as always for watching. See you in the next one.